Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed is the man that doth not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. For he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of waters, that will bring forth her fruits in due season, whose leaf shall not fade. So whatsoever he shall do shall prosper. Blessed is the man that doth not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. For he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of waters, that will bring forth her fruits in due season, whose leaf shall not fade. So whatsoever he shall do shall prosper. Yeah. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which suffer persecution for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed shall it be when men revile you and persecute you, and say all manner of evil against you for my sake falsely. Blessed is the man that doth not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night.
Rejoice and be glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Ye are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out, and to be trodden under foot of men. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on an hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle, and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works, and glorify your Father which is in heaven.
With your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works, and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Blessed be ye poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are ye that hunger now, for ye shall be satisfied. Blessed are ye that weep now, for ye shall laugh. Blessed are ye when men hate you, and when they separate you, and revile you, and put out your name as evil, for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice ye in that day, and be glad, for behold your reward is great in heaven. For after this manner
The Sons of Liberty is a politically neutral organization. We believe that the Christian ethic has provided the principles on which this nation was founded. It is our belief that these principles provide not only the foundation and framework for American government, but are also essential to the maintenance of a fair and just society. All program content is based on a Christian biblical worldview.
One of you said to me recently that we shouldn't rock the boat. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that I am a boat rocker. Boat rocker.
Good day, America. Welcome, Christians, conservatives, constitutionalists, liberals, libertarians, communists, Islamists, LGBTQ, RSTV, WXYZ people, all the boat rockers in the house, and anybody else I may have missed too. The Sons of Liberty radio show, where we use the Bible and the Constitution not to see who's on the right or the left, but who's on the straight and narrow. I'm your host, Tim Brown, coming to you live from the U.S. occupied state of South Carolina, the editor at sonsoflibertymedia.com. And if you guys want to check us out online, please do so, sonsoflibertyradio.com. Also, sonsoflibertymedia.com. In fact, if you're listening by way of the radio and you want to watch the video portion of the radio show, head over to sonsoflibertymedia.com. There you're going to see two videos at the top of the page. The one on the left side is Bradley's show from yesterday. So if you missed that and you'd like to catch it, you can do so up until 3 o'clock this afternoon, at which time he'll be live in that area. On the right side of the page is where we're at. Click on the play button, blow up whatever device you got. Look for the Rumble icon. It'll be in the bottom right-hand corner of the video. Click on that, and that'll take you over to Rumble, where we have a few friends in the chat this morning. Good morning, guys. Good to see you. And while you're there, please subscribe to the channel, Sons of Liberty Radio Live. We're also on beforeitsnews.com, top of the page over there, kick.com, pilled.net, number of highly censored Facebook pages that bear my name, as well as our Sons of Liberty Media Facebook page. Good morning to all you guys. Now, I'm just going to let you know, we're going to probably have an interruption at some point in the first 30 minutes of the show with my connection with Lynn, and that's because I'm not paying for Zoom anymore. And I am working on a meeting app, which does what I want it to do so far, but there may be some little bugs or things that I have to add or whatever. So we're going to be trying that out, Lord willing, maybe with David Rizalata in the morning. His new book is out, and we're going to cover that. So I'm just letting you guys know we may have a little glitch here for a minute or two, but it should come right back up. Lynn should be able to just log back in for another till the end of the show. Hopefully that's the way it's going to go. But I'm just giving you a heads up on that. Now, we're going to be talking about FedEd money. And before I do that, I want you to see this. This was something that came out. You know, we're told $40 trillion in debt. You know, all the pricing's going up because they're having to print money. You see it at the gas pump. You see it at the grocery store. You see it. Donald Trump doesn't see it, and the people who worship him evidently don't see it, but the rest of us see it. But you know what? You can be thankful, because though you are having to pull the belt tight around yourself, it is not so with the feds. Look at this. We look sharp. Trump says White House ordered 250 Cadillac Escalades. These things are upwards of $170,000 for the high performance V series. The low ones, which you know they're not buying, is $90,000, and then they have upgrades because they're doing them for all their stuff of protection. We have to protect those who are ripping us off, and so you're paying for that. 250 of those puppies. Like, don't they have enough of these things anyway? Anyway, we're going to talk about FedEd, funny money, and here to help me do that is the Common Core diva, Lynn Taylor. Good morning, Lynn.
Well, good morning. Education's moving day is upon us. Yeah, but so I'm wearing the BSN horse hockey shirt. You know why? Because it is nothing but BSN horse hockey. That education's actually going to go. The Department of Education, let me clarify, is going to go away. But yeah, we're going to get into that. And none other than Representative Wahlberg out of Michigan is leading the charge because, we just did a show a couple of weeks ago about how he was buddying up and saying, oh, yeah, we're shutting down Ed. We're right sizing it. So, yeah, here we go. So what in the world is going on? Well, before we get into his press release and all the BS of horse hockey that he's leading with this funny money, these were two unnumbered bills that he authored. And I wanted folks to see the language. So you'll see it's HR blank, and it says, in the House of Representatives, Mr. Wahlberg introduced the following bill, which is referred to the committee on, and it's all blank. Okay, but here's the language. To ensure the Department of Labor will manage programs within the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education and other purposes. We always have to have that open policy phrase, other purposes, in there. Okay, so it goes on to tell you it's going to be cited as less bureaucracy, better workforce development act. And then if you look at page 2 on the top, transfer of functions from where? The Department of Education. These are transferred to the Secretary of Labor of the Department of Labor, all the functions which the Secretary of the Education exercised before the effective date of this act. So there's one. Here's the second one he has. This one's also one that he authored, and it is untitled, HR blank, blah, 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 blah. Goes on to tell you to ensure the Department of Treasury will manage all federal student loans, federal student debt, and policies regarding student aid eligibility, and again, the other purposes. This act may be cited as the Less Bureaucracy, Better Student Aid Act. Again, Section 2, page 2, we're transferring from the Department of Education over to the Treasury. And this will go and connect into the Higher Education Act. So what is this telling us? Is Ed really going away? No, it just got transferred. And where? We just named 2 unconstitutional agencies it's getting transferred to. Meanwhile, you have the Secretary of Education is on such the publicity campaign. Her Twitter is blowing up with, look how great this administration is doing. Look how much we're doing to prop up children so that they can be on a career track for plumbers or whatever profession. Then, how the Department of Education has actually been termed as a bank, because she said there's no reason for it to be the 5th largest bank in America. Did you ever know that the Department of Education was a bank?
I'm not surprised. I was kind of surprised. Actually, considering some of the stuff I've learned over the years, I was kind of surprised that the post office is that. I mean, I had no idea until I started looking at things and transactions and looking at getting out of this system and everything else. I didn't realize the post office is that. But that doesn't surprise me. And we might want to remind people, who out of anybody in America that you know warned that, oh, you're going to get rid of the Department of Education? It's going to go everywhere. Who warned about that? Oh, that's right. That was Lynn. That was Lynn.
For years, we've been talking about this for years, and here we are. But yes, the shuck and jive is continuing, because here's the press release from the Committee on Education and Workforce. And it's dated July 21st. 10 bills, Tim, to strengthen education, support workers, and expand opportunity. The Committee on Education and Workforce today advanced 10 bills that aim to protect women and girls, safeguard the rights of students and parents. The federal government should never be doing that. Prepare students and educators to use AI safely and effectively in the classroom, encourage healthy habits among children, strengthen the workforce, support employers, prevent harmful regulations, and hold union leaders accountable. And if any federal government could pull every bit of that off, I'd be wowed. But this government cannot do it. I don't care who is in charge, an R or a D. It goes on to tell you, following the markup. Now, here's his quote. Today's markup reflects our commitment to advancing common sense policies that put students, parents, workers, and job creators first. These bills prepare students for the future, modernize our workforce system, support employers and small businesses, protect parental rights, and ensure our laws promote opportunity, accountability, and economic growth. I thank my colleagues for their work in advancing these important measures. And then he goes on to tell you, here are the names of the bills. We're not going to go over every one of these because you can do that on your own. I want us to take the time that we have to focus on some of the absolute BS and horse hockey. Now, there's an entire package of 10 bills. And yes, the Secretary of Education was even touting the passage of those. But now let's stop and clarify one thing. They passed out of a committee onto the floor of the entire House of Representatives. But the way that it's being spun, it's making you think, oh, well, the entire House just passed these 10 bills that would go on to the Senate. That's not what happened. You see, they came out of a committee and onto the floor. Now what has to happen is that all 10 of these have to make it through the House of Representatives and pass so they can go on to the Senate. Now, will all 10 of them go at once? We don't know, because all 10 of them have been put in a bundle, kind of like an omnibus bill, if you will. And we've talked about those before. That's one of those bills like Every Student Succeeds Act, where they threw in stuff that had nothing to do with education, but yet, oh, well, here's a big one nobody's going to read, so we'll just throw it in. So let's get into the dirt here.
Yeah,
right,
Lynn, if I can, let me interject one
Sure.
thing. Those two bills that we were looking at earlier,
Yes.
they have been numbered now. The first one is, just
Yes.
for your records, is HR 9607, and the other one
Yep.
is 9609, just so people know, and just so you
and
you
we
know
will. Yep, we'll have links to those. So yes, they did go on to be numbered. So thank you for that, Tim.
that. Yes, ma'am.
Now, real quick, before we get into these other three that weren't in the package of 10, I just wanted to show you, this is the press release from Wahlberg, and this was dated July the 9th of 2026. And listen to this quote. For decades, Washington has measured success by how much government grows instead of how well students do. Let that one sink in for a moment. This legislative package reflects a simple principle that education policy should be focused on helping students succeed, not preserving a federal bureaucracy for its own sake. Rather than allowing unnecessary layers of Washington bureaucracy to stand between families and the services they rely on, these bills will transfer key statutory authority to agencies better equipped to carry them out while maintaining continuity for students and stakeholders. Can you tell me what dope this man is smoking?
From our perspective, none of this is their business. It keeps coming back to a very simple thing. Who's given authority to educate children? Parents. Why? Because God gave you the children. He did not give them to the state. I know they think they're theirs. I know even some people will say, oh, you signed them over with your birth certificate. Maybe so, but God still gave them to you. You're the one that's responsible to educate them. And so my mentality is I ignore all of that because it's not their jurisdiction. It's my jurisdiction.
Yeah, but we're going to sit here and we're going to play a shell game with your children, but we're going to have the audacity to tell you that we're removing unnecessary layers in Washington bureaucracy. So the entire package is less bureaucracy, better, whatever, and you fill in the blank. So for our purposes, we're going to say less BS, more whatever. So anyway, so there are 3 bills, though, that were not in this package of 10 that are very scary. And they do connect with the package of 10, which is why we're highlighting those first. We have H.R. 8183. This is to amend the WIOA, or the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which, by the way, was codified in the Every Student Succeeds Act to help create that cradle to grave workforce alignment system. So it goes on to tell you we're going to establish talent marketplaces. So we already have an insurance marketplace run by the federal government. So why not have a talent marketplace run by the federal government? Goes on to tell you this will be cited as the Modernizing Access to Talents, Credentials, and Hiring Act, or the Match Act. Biggest thing you could do with this is go get a match, light it, and burn a paper copy of this bill. It is that stupid. Okay, so talent marketplace means an array of publicly and privately owned platforms, Tim, supported by interconnected, interoperable, open standard technology, which may include artificial intelligence, that is made available to the public, used to match individuals with employment and learning opportunities in a state or a consortium of states, using information about their education, training, employers, job seekers, students. We already have this. It's called the Workforce Quality Data Initiative. We already have this in our one-stop job centers that our states use to align education to workforce. So why do we have to create one? Because it has to be online. It has to run through artificial intelligence. That's why. It also has to become public-private. This is scary. The credential registry. Okay. Think about your credit score. You're a number. This is what you're seeing as a value. It determines whether you can borrow money, whether you can go down the street, whether you can get into your house to feed your cat. It goes into all kinds of things. We're seeing this play out in other countries, especially China. We've seen people who, because of their score, weren't allowed to do basic human things. So now we're going to take a registry that credentials you. We've talked about this for a long time too, where it slots you into what kind of job you can get. We saw through the USMCA how it was only going to make sure that there were just a few jobs, while it told you there were hundreds of millions of jobs out there. So this is exactly what this is bringing about. But oh no, we're so great. We're going to go buy a bunch of Cadillacs. Here's another one, H.R. 8747. To amend the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965 to include certain curriculum expenses as permissible use of funds, and of course, other purposes. Okay, again, why does the Congress never, ever cite the Every Student Succeeds Act? Because they keep going back to 1965 because they think, oh, well, you know what? We sold such a load of BS and horse hockey when it came to Every Student Succeeds Act that we snowed everybody thinking that we had killed the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. No, what they did was they codified it. So when they use Elementary and Secondary Education Act, what they're doing is they're inflating the Every Student Succeeds Act, but they're not doing it under the Every Student Succeeds Act name. They're doing it under the Elementary and Secondary Education Act because you're not looking there. You're looking at the Every Student Succeeds Act. So in other words, it's like I'm going in and inflating a balloon and you see the balloon rising. That would be the Every Student Succeeds Act. But the air, that's the Elementary and Secondary Education part of the Every Student Succeeds Act. But that's just to illustrate that. But what does H.R. 8747 do? It embeds K through 12 AI literacy and readiness. So it wasn't insulting enough that we put our K through 12 education into a workforce readiness vice. Now we're going to go in and we're going to tweak it just a little bit more for artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and let's make a point here. This is not Democrats doing this, folks. These are Republicans. No. In fact, this one that we're talking about, look at it. This is from Pharisee himself with his big phylacteries on and his little hat, Randy Fine down there in Florida. This is from him. But here's the thing, Lynn. Again, I'm just going to interject these things. Being prepared vocationally is a good thing. There's not a bad thing about that. Scripture talks about a couple of verses that I'll bring up is 1 Thessalonians 4:11, and that you study to be quiet, to do your own business, to work with your own hands. Ephesians 4:28, let him labor working with his hands the thing which is good. So doing things is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. The problem is when you've got a civil authority who has no authority over that. I mean, they shouldn't have any of this authority. Again, you're going to let the beast eat you. It's going to eat your kids too. It needs to be abolished, and parents need to rightfully stand up and say, you know what? Maybe I've been tricked all this time. I've been trying to make ends meet. I'm running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And I'm just trying to make ends meet. I'm just trying to survive. That should not be how your life is. Yet men's government push other men this way. And God just says, I gave you those children, their reward, they're a heritage for you. You're the one to be teaching them. And the more important question is not can they learn to earn? It's, does your child know God? Does he have the fear of God? Does he learn knowledge from the scriptures? Does he learn knowledge from God? Does he learn wisdom there? Can he discern good from evil? There's a number of things. Is he faithful to serve in his household and to serve his neighbors? If he is, then you have really taught and trained your child. And if he's not, and you're just sending him out there to the schools of Rome, then don't be surprised when they come out Romans, right?
Absolutely. And, people have brought this point up in different ways. Well, Lynn, you just don't want people to work. No, that's not it. My argument is I don't think that's the way things should go, because when you run everything through this Common Core cookie cutter system, it absolutely ruins what they were naturally gifted to do. It also just squanders the scripture that says, be able to be teachable and take correction. But that was meant from a godly perspective, not from okay, here's the government and here's what you're going to do. And we're going to slot you in this position.
That's right.
And this is where you're going to learn. That's my argument, because no, the government should have no jurisdiction over what you learn or where you work. But yet we've seen this happen for decades. Here we go with the last of the three that were not in the Big 10 less bureaucracy package. This one is H.R. 4986, again by another Republican, to amend the general.
Okay, all right, we got knocked off of there, and I'm going to cut us back on, and we'll see if Lynn is still hanging with us. In the midst of everything going on here. At least we'll be ready here in just a minute. Guys, just be patient with me just a second, and we'll see if we can bring Lynn back on. I did let you guys know that this was a possibility, that this was going to go on. So I'm going to wait and see that she comes back on. But this one is called the Parents Opt-in Protection Act. I'll go ahead and give some of this. Again, this is by another Republican, Mary Miller out of Illinois, and just waiting on Lynn here. See, I figured she could just pop right back in. We'll see what happens though. And again, this is my fault. I do apologize for that. I'm just sending her a little message just so we see where she's at. All right, now this one, it's I'm going to bring it up and we'll look at it. It's called the Parents Opt-in Protection Act. This was put in 2025, in August there of 2025. And so we're going to have Lynn come back in and speak to this. Lynn, are you there? I think she's there. Lynn, you there? I think maybe she's... Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, we should be good to the end of the show then.
Yeah, okay. All right, so just think about that. Why would a family want to opt into a government system that is going to be AI related, and it's coming from the very government that's telling you, oh, this is what we're going to do to your children. Why would a parent do that? I don't understand. Meanwhile, we've got DC going on with this package of 10. And before we get to those, here's some headlines. Monday, the president's orders IRS to forgive $300 billion in tax debt in 2026. This is taxpayer debt. This is supposed to play into the fact that, oh, yes, well, I guess we're going to be forgiven that much debt so that we can go pay all that student loan debt that we just absorbed. Then we have the U.S. Department of Labor awards a $162 million award to expand the registered apprenticeship through performance-based incentives in key industry sectors. So we're cherry picking which sectors will get the jobs, and that will be shipbuilding, defense, industrial, emerging technology sectors. So yeah, you can tell exactly where this administration wants us to go. But what about these 10? Remember the 10 that were supposed to be so great and wonderful? Less BS. All right, here we go. Less BS, more workforce. Well, we just went over that one. Tim showed us it was HR 9607. That was the one that was unnamed. We also have the less BS, better student aid. That is HR 9609. That was the other unnamed one. That was about putting the Treasury in part, over, student loans and everything. Okay. So HR 9606, this will direct the Health and Human Services in all of the functions for low-income post-secondary parents. So if you're in a community college and you're a low-income post-secondary parent, you can now have the federal government help take care of your child. Oh, my stars in heaven. Talk about putting someone on the sacrificial altar. Okay, but yeah, there you go. That's a better, and they termed this one as better higher education. I'm going to have better education because I know that my child is in the hands of the government while I can go to school. Can you tell me what is so whacked with that?
Especially a government that is protecting cannibalistic pedo vampires. Yeah, okay, that makes me feel comfortable handing my children over to them. No.
Absolutely, absolutely. The hidden thing behind 90. Let me get my tongue back in. The hidden dangers behind 9607 that Wahlberg trotted out was that it enshrines everything from higher education to the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, throws it all back on elementary and secondary education. 9609, this will ensure that the Treasury manages all student loans. We've been over that one. HR 9603, the State Department will manage all internal education, international, not internal, international education, especially Fulbright scholars, and it also will attach to the Higher Education Act. But this is all less bureaucracy, Tim. Okay, labor, treasury, state.
Can I ask a question? How do you get less bureaucracy by writing more of these bills? How does that work?
I don't know. That's why I was asking what dope they were smoking, because it certainly isn't less. It's more of it. But yeah, we're going to term it as less bureaucracy because we're throwing Health and Human Services, labor, treasury, state, all unconstitutional. But so was education, but that's okay. We're going to keep blowing smoke up your drawers. Okay, 9603, yes, that's the State Department managing all international education. Think about that, international education. Well, that means all those people coming from other countries to America. It also means all your students going from America to other countries to learn, because it works both ways. But we're especially going to throw in the Fulbright scholars. And, you know, there are a lot of schools out there that are really proud that they have Fulbright scholars. It is supposed to be in certain circles that if you're a Fulbright scholar, it's a really big deal. Really? I'm going to be steeped in globalization, and that's okay. Okay. 9611 ensures that the Department of Labor manages certain post-secondary education. Well, certain parts of post-secondary education. What parts of post-secondary education? Everything that will benefit the government and nothing that will benefit your family. That's what you can summarize that in. HR 9610 ensures that the Department of Labor will manage certain things in elementary and secondary education. Wait a minute, labor was only supposed to be for post-secondary and adult. We just got a bill that gave it the green light to reach back into elementary and secondary education. And why? Because don't you remember way back when Senator Lamar Alexander stood in front of God and every governor in the nation and said, there will come a day when we meet mama at the hospital and we're going to wrap our arms around mama and we're going to take care of mama. And then we're going to wrap our arms around the baby. And then we're going to take the baby and we're going to put it all in the government's care. And then fast forward to Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, who goes, oh yeah, by the time they're in second grade, we'll know what career they're in. And now you have Secretary McMahon on Twitter. Oh, yes, we're so excited because now we can make sure that Johnny and Susie in their early years can learn all about plumbing. Charlotte Iserbeat gave us a wonderful example about, oh, yeah, I'm going to be steeped in welding. And when I go down to get the welding job, guess what happens? Welding job's not there anymore. So I have to go right back through the same bloody system to be retrained to go do another job. But that's okay. We're going to expand. We're going to make things better by having less bureaucracy, but we're going to go in and infiltrate elementary and secondary education act. Oh, BS you are. Okay. HR 9608 ensures that the Department of Health and Human Services manages school-related family engagement. Think about back in COVID, the family engagement was lived out or played out, if you will, by, oh, well, we see that Johnny and Susie aren't in school today. So it's up to us to go out to Johnny and Susie's parents' house and check up on them to see how they're doing. What do you think is really in that visit?
Getting in your house.
Well, getting
in your house and controlling you and your children.
Absolutely. And as if we have not picked on the Native Americans enough, don't think that they were left out of this less BS package. Okay, 9604 ensures the Department of Interior handles all tribal education as well as all tribal labor programming. So it's not bad enough that we're going after everybody else's child. We're going to also rope in the people we have probably put the screws to the most, and that is the Native Americans. Now, while all this is going on in Congress, don't think that the Supreme Court is sitting back going, oh, we're smoking a cigar. We got our feet up on the bench and we're just doing nothing. Because you have a court case, and it is many, many pages long. In fact, you'll have this in the archives, but this is Supreme Court case 25-581 that has 35 senators, Tim, fully supporting it. And what is it about? It's about a Catholic school trying to insert itself into early childhood education while claiming that school choice money allows all this to happen. And what in the world have we done on our shows when it comes to the Supreme Court and school choice money? What did we tell you during Trump 1.0? How did he stack the deck?
Tell us.
Oh, you don't remember Amy?
Amy Coney, yeah, and then Kavanaugh. Yeah.
Kavanaugh. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, we had to put those two yahoos on because they supported the school choice agenda. Now, And that'll be in the archives as well. Okay, that particular case or cases that were used for the Supreme Court back in 1.0 administration to codify that yes, school choice money could go into religious schools and religious schools wouldn't have to teach certain curriculums. Now we're seeing the fact that, oh, yes, here we have another Supreme Court case where here comes a religious school and they put in offensive curriculum. So and then they cite these very same cases, the Espinoza case that was in the first administration that was supposed to be used to justify why the Supreme Court said school choice money is okay to go into homeschooling and private schools. Oh, yeah. But let's look at the name of the 75 senators. Excuse me, not 75, 35. And I'm wrong. It's not 35 senators. It is 8 senators and 35 representatives. So it's not just 35. It's 41. But we have the Senate and the House. So this is bicameral, bipartisan. Nothing wrong with that. But when have you heard that you have this many elected officials butting up to the Supreme Court in an amicus curiae brief supporting something that's so unconstitutional?
Yeah,
okay,
and
here we go.
And on top of that, again, many of these are not Democrats the way people think. This is why I say that they are a uniparty in essence. They're just that one's more Marxist when it comes to welfare, and one's more Marxist when it comes to warfare. But when it comes to the education, they're both in this. And at some level or another, all of these guys are Marxist, whether they claim it or not. In practice, by doing this thing with education and labor, they are showing that they are in line with a Marxist mentality, are they not? I mean, they may give lip service to what the scripture says. For instance, Deuteronomy 6 says, "And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children." And over in the New Testament, in Ephesians 6, we read, "Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord." And I have to ask, Lynn, for those who call themselves believers out there, do you believe those texts? Do you believe that that is your duty before God to do with your children? Or do you believe it's just okay to just turn them over to the state? And you already know what the state is. You know that it has set itself up as Antichrist against the kingdom of God. They've done it by simple little things like this, sticking their hands in where they have no jurisdiction. It's like what we were talking about the other day. Was it the king who went in and he started offering incense and he wouldn't get out? So God struck him with leprosy and they had to haul him out. He was in a jurisdiction he didn't belong in. And the federal government is no different. I don't know what it takes for professed believers to see that. You have to do your duty, no matter what they're writing, no matter what they're claiming, no matter if they threaten you, you have to be prepared to do your duty. The duty is that God gave to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, here we go. I'm going to read you the 43 Congress members. All right, here we go. From the Senate, James Langford of Oklahoma, Ted Budd of North Carolina. Remember, he's an AI guru. Kevin Cramer, North Dakota. Ted Cruz, Texas. Don't even. Charles Grassley, Iowa. Jim Justice, West Virginia. Roger Marshall, Kansas. Pete Ricketts from Nebraska. All right, let's go to the House. Tim Walberg. Oh, no shocker there. Andy Biggs, big school choice proponent. Robert B. Adderhall from Alabama. Sherry Biggs of South Carolina. Rick Allen from Georgia. Mike Boast from Illinois. Tim Barrett from Michigan. Jeff Crank from Colorado. Michael Baumgartner from Washington State. Byron Donalds from Florida, Aaron Bean from Florida, Gabe Evans of Colorado, Randy Fine of Florida, Andy Ogles of Tennessee, Virginia Fox of North Carolina, Dr. Bob Onder from Missouri, H. Morgan Griffith from Virginia, Burgess Owens of Utah, no surprise there, Glenn Grotham from Wisconsin, August Pfluger from Texas, Mark Harris from North Carolina, not shocked, John Rose, Tennessee, Clay Higgins, Louisiana, Michael A. Ruley from Ohio, Dr. Julia Letlow from Louisiana, John Rutherford from Florida, John McGuire from Virginia, Adrian Smith from Nebraska, Mark Messner from Indiana, Chris Smith of New Jersey, Mary Miller from Illinois, Daniel Webster from Florida, John Moulinar from Michigan, Joe Wilson of South Carolina, and finally Riley M. Moore from West Virginia. These are the 43 congressmen and women, mainly Republicans. Okay, so what is the big deal? I gave you the page numbers. These will be in the archives that you'll need. On the pages that are in the Roman numerals, these are just the court cases that have been brought back to somehow justify the Supreme Court's position on where they're coming from. They're also ones that these 43 congressmen and women have said, yes, we agree with. It's not till you get to pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 18, 17 and 18 that you find the devil in the details. Now, if you didn't get all those numbers, it'll be in the archives. But here we go from the first page. Amicuri Curiae are United States senators and members of the United States House of Representatives committed to upholding Congress's long-standing bipartisan tradition of protecting religious liberty rights of all Americans. And then they rubber stamp it with 22 U.S. Code Section 6401-A-2. And then it says in parentheses, congressional recognition that religious liberty is a, quote, universal human right and fundamental freedom, end quote. The separation in the language enough should set you off. Universal human right. Where have we heard that one before, Tim?
That one's out of the United Nations.
Thank you. And what about fundamental freedom in the hands of Congress, in the hands of Washington, D.C.? Fundamental means what? It's government assigned, therefore government changeable or removable. Inherent freedom. It should have been inherent. But if it was inherent, it wouldn't have Congress on it. It would have the Lord Almighty on it. Goes on to tell you, many members of Congress have championed school choice and been longtime advocates of religious liberty. That is why Congress passed the Educational Choice for Children Act last year to provide taxpayers with a means to fund scholarships for children to attend and receive services at public, private, secular, or religious schools. Congress enacted the ECCA, not to be confused with the ESSA, to maximize choice and religious freedom for Americans throughout the country. Page 2. The 10th Circuit decision below, coming a few months after the passage of ECCA, has generated keen interest from members of Congress because state participation in ECCA is crucial, with donated funds passing through state-designated scholarship granting organizations before distribution to students. Donated funds, state-designated scholarship organizations, public-private partnerships come to mind because that's exactly what this is. If states like Colorado can attach non-discrimination conditions to universal preschool programs that effectively exclude religious schools from the benefit without violating the free exercise clause, then they can attach non-discrimination conditions. And it goes on to tell you, Vermont's already done this. They've already put some conditions. Such state-imposed limitations will jeopardize Congress's landmark education scholarship program, the latest in a long line of congressional actions that bolster school choice and support religious liberty. Okay, hang on just a second. The states are supposed to limit the federal government. Go check your constitution.
Yep. But they
And
don't.
it's not.
They
It's
don't.
not Congress's. I know, but it's not Congress's job to decide what religious liberty is or religious discrimination.
That's right. It's the people's. And, this gets to something else, too. We talk about the strings the feds attach that parents need to be aware of, or that individuals need to be aware of when they write new bills where any kind of money is going out. We talk about that. But we also, most people fail to realize the states, there's strings attached to every federal dollar that goes to them for everything. And that was what I was talking years ago down here at the State House. You guys can't even, nullify Obamacare with a simple bill that they had that would have done that. They want to keep all the social welfare programs like Medicaid, Medicaid, Medicare, and all that other stuff. And so they had that. And I said, your problem is that you have taken the government cheese. And once you take it, you can't stop taking it because it's just more debt that you're accruing. And instead of cutting that off and saying, you know what, you guys have no business in that, the governor ought to step up and say, from now on, any tax that if they're going to do it, and I just don't even like the back taxes, but to stop sending it there and let the state get what it needs if that's the way they want to do. But I don't believe it's the state's business to be in education. I don't even believe it's the local level to be involved in education. It is merely parents. And if you want to hire somebody who knows a certain thing or can teach things, or maybe you don't feel like you can do it, but you know somebody who will do it and they're teaching their children. They don't mind you bringing them in there and you go learn, then go do it. But it's your responsibility. It is not the responsibility of any civil government, any civil magistrate to educate your children. It is your responsibility.
Absolutely. Okay. So we've just laid out the fact states shouldn't be messing with this at all. And here's the next paragraph. Fortunately, thank you. Fortunately, this court's precedents prevent states from excluding. Did you hear that? Prevent states from excluding religious schools, either from universal preschool programs or the ECCA participation. The only difference between these cases and the Colorado preschool choice program is that Colorado imposes an implicit, as opposed to explicit, bar of religious organizations that hold to traditional views of marriage and sex. So this is not really about school choice money. This is not really about protecting religious liberty. This is about going after tradition.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you expect again from a bunch of cannibalistic pedo vampires? Yeah. But in addition to that, let's bring in what scripture talks about. Again, the Bible says that we're to be learning discernment, not our dependence on AI or any kind of technology, which is what they're pushing here. They're pushing that more and more. 1 Thessalonians, Paul writes, prove all things, hold fast to that which is good. And then in Proverbs 14, verse 15, we read, the simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. So again, God's economy of education is vastly different than what the federal government has been pushed on. But the problem is, Lynn, we have grown up in a time where as you get to a certain age, you're going out looking for a job rather than looking to see how you might do the will of the Father. See, and that's drastically different, isn't it? If the will of the Father is you go dig ditches or you build houses or whatever, then that's fine. But this idea that we put them into a labor, construct, and I read the definition of labor from the Masonic Dictionary. And it's basically, they look at it as it is their righteousness. So when these guys talk about education, you hear them kind of interject that kind of language, that it is a right thing. It is a good thing. It's, somehow it gives you a better standing. You have a job and you're doing this, even if the federal government's subsidizing in some way or getting parents on to give their kids away while they go the places of quote unquote higher learning, and it's anybody's guess what kind of learning there's actually going on there.
Yeah, I know. Well, here's the argument on page 3. I know we're getting close to time. Congress, education, and religious liberty. Congress's engagement in the education sphere is animated by 2 bedrock commitments: preserving parental choice in education and protecting the ability of religious institutions to participate in otherwise generally available public programs without surrendering their faith. ECCA is the latest expression of that tradition. And then it goes on to tell you that Congress's commitment to education choice and religious liberty is bipartisan and rooted in the founding era. Now, we're fixing to get a history lesson that I've never, ever been taught. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Since the founding, Congress has authorized programs that provide federal resources through education choice that includes religious organizations. In 1787, the Congress of the Confederation enacted the Northwest Ordinance, which set aside federal land for both public and sectarian religious schools in the Northwest Territory. Okay, our nation's tradition of allowing religious adherents to participate in even-handed government programs can be traced at least as far back as the first Congress, which ratified the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. The third article of the ordinance directly tied together schools, religion, and government. Quote, religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind, schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged, end quote. This part, Americans from 1789 to 1825 accepted and practiced governmental aid to religion and religiously oriented educational institutions. Gives you the absolute court case for that one. In addition to the Northwest Ordinance, early federal aid, often land grants, went to religious schools. And that's where they start citing the Esperanza case that we used in that show where we talked about Kavanaugh and Amy What's-Her-Bucket. So it goes on to tell you, oh, well, we codified that back in U.S. Code 20, Section 6301, where it says we could provide full educational opportunity to every child, regardless of economic background, end quote. And then Congress has been able to provide federal funds to the states to local education agencies, which then use the funds to support education, guidance, and job counseling to eligible students. Page 5, Agnosti versus Felton, 1997. This court made clear that Congress intended that Title I funding funds to bolster, not squelch, religious liberty. Well, go look at what happened to Title I under the Every Student Succeeds Act. It went from per pupil need to whole school because we had to universally test if everybody needed to be put on some behavior management, pumped full of psychotropic drugs, and then told, oh, yes, you have a learning disability.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Lynn, we got about a minute and a half or so. Do you want to tell people where they can find out more about you?
Ooh, Swanee, this stuff. Oh, my goodness. Okay, you can find me at commoncorediva.com. You can also find me. I have just been added to the American Policy Center's list of speakers. So you can now go through them and sign me up to come speak to your group, or you can do it through my website. info@commoncorediva is my email. So you have 2 ways now to book me for your conferences, your workshops, your whatever, online, in person, doesn't matter. But that's kind of a feather in the cap, and that's all due to God. So that's not about me, that's about him. So we've expanded that. My family is in a horrible crunch all the way around right now. So any financial support that you could steer our way, donations are accepted. Prayer support is also needed because it's not just about money. It's about holding each other up, helping each other through hard times. And yeah, we're being hit by all sides right now. So, and I know we're not the only family. So it's not just my family, it's every one of us that we need that support. So yeah, you can find me there. You can also find me on Catching Fire News. That's part of American Policy Center. You can find me on Twitter X at Common Core Diva. You can also find me on Facebook, Common Core Diva 2023. And as always, every Tuesday that we will be here.
Okay. And we will see you guys, Lord willing, back in the morning, 6 a.m. bright and early. Talk to you then.